Uh-oh. Hold on 1 second, guys. Oh, no. Your, Ocean, your camera is not connecting. So I'm just gonna get everything set up really quick. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the most recent episode 40 of the Soul Sanctuary podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a special pop up. It's viewer's choice. This means that you guys get to ask both of us whatever it is you'd like to ask. And we will go ahead and answer you. So basically, there's no questions that are off limits. We're just going to give Ocean a moment to get her stuff reconnected. Ooh, hold on really quick. Yeah, Can you guys hear me? I think we're having a whole bunch of technical difficulties here. So there's no questions that are off limits. Whatever you want to ask, you're definitely free to ask. And if I have the answer, I definitely will share that. And if I don't, then hopefully Ocean will be back on screen with me in a moment. And hopefully she'll be able to answer. So, who wants to ask the first question? Just go ahead and start asking questions again about anything you want to ask questions about. As you guys are writing questions in, I do want to share that we have been super busy behind the scenes. We've been taking care of a lot of different projects that we have on hand for the Soul Work Synergistics Ministry. We've been in talks with other nonprofits, and we're working on collaborating with them through this winter season, the holiday season. There's just so much that needs to be done to help other people. And we have been working so super duper hard to get that done so that we can start sharing some updates with you guys. If you'd like to support our ministry and our nonprofit work, one of the ways you can do this, thank you, Lindsay, you can go ahead and check out one of our artesian breads. We bake them. We bake them in a cottage facility. You guys, we have amazing breads. We have the vegan yummers. They're completely vegan, including the frosting. A lot of people don't realize this. Most frosting, unless you know all of the ingredients, it is not vegan. A lot of the confectioner's sugar that's used to create frosting is processed through bones. So having been a vegan for over 6 years, way back when, I'm familiar with the different things to look for to ensure that it truly honors your decision to be fully vegan. And the fairy berry, that's my favorite. That's my all-time favorite, along with the vegan yummers. I'm just saying. All right. So I see a question here. Oh, first, let's go ahead and bring. Oh my God, what am I doing? Let's bring Ocean on the screen. Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you as well.
Wonderful.
So, is there anything you want to share before we start taking questions?
I would like to share that the energy feels really weird. I would like to know if anyone else feels that. Like, have you been feeling that this morning or the night before, anything like that? Anything feel off to you all? Different.
Yes, absolutely. It feels weird. I can't discern whether it's a good weird, bad weird, neutral weird, just a different type of energy. I can't discern.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just weird.
yeah.
I've also noticed that quite a few people who are sensitive to energy,
Mm-hmm.
even children, they've been having like a sense of an accelerated heart rate.
Mm,
Nothing ridiculously concerning, but definitely accelerated, like they've been doing cardiovascular, like cardio type activities.
wow, that's really something. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the children that I've been working with, they've been feeling that for, I would say, like 2, 3 days leading up
Mm,
to the blood moon lunar eclipse. And
okay.
then today I checked on and they seem to be okay. The symptoms have gone away.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
like heart skips,
mm,
accelerated heart rate. It's more of a feeling than a actual thing. So it's hard. A lot of people will be like, "Oh my god, am I going crazy? Am I imagining this?" No, you're probably feeling energy. It's probably
right.
energy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yes. All right. This first question, Aaron's asking, when did you first realize Michael in your life? I was always curious about that. So Michael has been with me since I was a child, like very, very, very young. Um, he hadn't shown himself to me, but I always felt the presence of something large, because I was raised in a very devoutly religious home and culture. I always just, as a child, assumed that it was something demonic, and so I would be afraid. So he wouldn't show himself to me. But it's been the same presence through my entire life. The first time he showed himself to me was in 2000. I was having a very, very extreme life circumstance, and I was rushed to the ER.
Mm.
Yeah, and so that's when I first saw him. At which point I screamed bloody murder in the ER.
I can imagine.
Mhm. And yeah, and then when he showed me his full form, and I really became aware of the full gravity of who he is, this being that's been with me my whole life. That was in 2010.
Mm,
We're driving through a completely blacked out Mexican countryside. We were in Mexico. And so it's been pretty intense. It's been an intense journey with Michael. We haven't always had the relationship that you guys see me having with him these days. Um, but it's been a lifelong thing. He's been there my entire life,
mm,
like literally my entire life. I have memories as a toddler because I have a fairly long memory. I have memories as a toddler still being in the Philippines and feeling it. So yeah. Do you feel Michael Ocean?
mm, I think so. I've always felt lots of unseen presence around me all my life. But yeah, I think I do sometimes too. Yeah.
Ooh, this question right here. Does Michael ever use the phrase, may all beings be happy and free? No, no. As soon as I read that, what resonates in my head is usurper. Ooh,
Mm,
yikes. That's what I hear is usurper. It's someone that might, or something that might be trying to mimic the energy of Michael. So be careful with that, okay? Be very, very careful. Um, okay, here's a question. In the live this morning, last night, you mentioned muscle twitching. Can you elaborate? Yeah. So sometimes, if you guys are not aware, my true specialty is parasitic extraction and demonology. And what that has to do with the question is that I've found through my ever increasing body of work, this field of work that I've been doing for a large portion of my life, when there's a a parasitic anchor point, it usually anchors onto the fascia that surrounds a specific muscle fiber, like muscle grouping. And the reason it anchors onto the fascia is because the fascia is the gateway to the energetic side of human existence. Okay. The fascia communicates with the chakras, and the chakras communicate with a morphogenetic template. The soul, that's where you anchor in. That's a physical anchor point into the human body. And so, what ends up happening, parasites, energetic parasites are made of energy. In order for them to facilitate a feeding, they will create anchor points onto the fascia, and then they will stimulate the muscle. The muscle, the reason your muscles work, the way it works is through bioelectricity. When bioelectricity is run through the muscle fiber, it will contract, it will shorten, which will cause a movement, right? The movement of that muscle. And so what it does is it simulates brain activity that tells the muscle to contract and relax, contract and relax. And that runs a bioelectric current through the muscle. So it'll start to twitch. Um, a lot of the parasitic techniques that they use, they will sedate the muscle so you won't feel the movement. However, if there's an amplified or excessive number of latch points on a specific muscle fiber, muscle bundle, then you'll begin to experience it twitching because there's not enough sedation that they can generate to induce that level of bioelectric transmission without the muscle being activated. If they use enough to prevent the twitching, they'll paralyze the entire limb. So it's at that point you'll probably go see the doctor, you'll go see some type of shaman, whoever, and then you'll find out that they're there. So in order to evade detection, they'll go ahead and use lower levels of sedation, and you'll experience the twitching. Not all twitching is parasitic, though. Not all twitching is parasitic, but when you have a parasitic circumstance and you're also experiencing uncontrollable twitching, there's something, that correlates the two. You have to begin exploring that further. Yes. So I don't know if that was too much info or if it was just enough, but I hope it answered whatever question you were asking. Yes. Is there anything you want to share, Ocean?
Yes, your question was very interesting. I think it kind of caught me off guard. You know, I got you. But to kind of clarify, because after I processed it a little bit, I think that some things that I have probably thought came in the form of clear cognizance or clear audience, actually, that's what it was too, like a mixture. Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. Oh, okay, guys, I don't want you to freak out. I don't want you to freak out. Oftentimes, muscle twitching has a lot to do with an electrolyte imbalance. You're needing some more of those salts, different types of salts that serve as electrolytes in the body. Sometimes it has to do with breathing too shallow. You're not receiving enough oxygenation to the blood, to the muscles. It could be a whole bunch of different reasons why you're having twitching. So there has to be an existing parasitic situation that would cause the muscle twitching for that muscle twitching to be attributed to parasitic situation. Does that make sense? So we don't want to start assuming that because we have a lot of muscle twitch that, we're infested with parasites. Now here's the other thing. It's extremely rare for me to come across a person who is not infested with parasites. So it's just, I don't want you guys to freak out. It's actually much more common than we realize. Many of us have had such an intense life experience, life journey thus far because of parasitic infiltration into our life, into the people who are around us, just so many different things. You guys have no idea how brave and how strong you've been your whole life and what you've actually been dealing with. Remember how much you have already gone through. Okay. You've already gone through so much. Now is not the time for you to begin um, this cycle of like, oh my gosh, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. And I'm not speaking to anyone in particular. I'm just, trying to encourage everyone to dig deep and find that courage. It doesn't always mean worst case scenario if you have a parasitic circumstance. It's rare for me to not be able to remove a parasitic circumstance. That's rare. That's very, very rare. The hardest types to remove are succubus, incubus, or one that is embedded into the mitochondria, because then it's part of your entire genetic makeup. Every single cell in your body is an anchor point. That's like trillions upon trillions of cellular material that I would need to go through. So that makes it a little more difficult. But I think my client count is somewhere around just over 10,000 at this point, and that's in since 2017. That doesn't include the people who I've worked with before I became publicly visible. So documented just over 10,000, and to date, I would say there's maybe like two or three people who I have not been able to remove the parasite from, and those people didn't want to let it go.
Mm.
So that's why I couldn't remove it,
Yeah,
right?
the difference.
So there isn't much that one can do energetically that cannot be corrected so long as the recipient of the work is absolutely willing and committed to the change that will occur with that energy work. Yeah, there's not much that you can't correct, but it has to be agreed to by the person wholeheartedly, not just logically, but wholeheartedly.
I think that raises an interesting question too that I have for some people who may be wondering, what would make someone want to stay attached to something like that?
It's usually people who have a very diminished sense of self and very diminished sense of self-worth, and the demonic latching helps them to feel more powerful. It gives them an edge over others. And so it's this thing of existing in a compete compare program and identifying as the very wound that causes you to choose to continue to participate in that.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, I've known people who um it's very unfortunate, but they were at one point what I thought was a good friend, a friendship that would last lifelong. And there was so much that I believed to have had in common, only to realize later on that they were simply wanting to be in proximity to me in
Mhm.
order to better mimic me.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. So with that, that was already an existing insecurity. And that insecurity was exploited by something parasitic. And then it became a full on, like, if we take Emmy out the picture, then I get the whole cake. But I'm the baker and it's my bake shop. You were just taste testing. You know
Wow.
what I mean? So and that's the thing, you guys. I don't say that out of a place of ego. I say that as a knowing. I know what I'm here to do. No one can ever take that from me. Once you begin to realize at least a portion of your purpose, no one can ever take that from you.
Mhm.
Not even you. You can delay it. You can make it harder. You can make things as complicated as you want. But at the end of the day, you will fulfill your purpose, whether you want to or not. And no one can take that from you. So the whole compete, compare thing, that just, it doesn't apply when you begin living in that way.
Mhm.
Um, Here's a really good question.
Okay.
Would you say most don't know they are possessed? What
Mm.
are the symptoms? I would say yes. Most people don't know that they're possessed. Most people enter into this space of very toxic power over others. They feed off of that. They need to dominate you, they need to intimidate you, all of these different things, right? So the symptoms are very similar to malignant narcissists.
Mm.
They're willing to harm you. They're willing to, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, whether it's slandering your, you know, your reputation, whether it's libel. It really doesn't matter to them. Whatever it takes to destroy you, because you are the enemy to them, right? And these are the people. Typically, someone who's possessed will villainize the person that can help.
Mm,
And it doesn't necessarily mean that person is an energy worker. It's
mm,
like someone who can see beyond whatever facade they're creating,
mhm,
someone who can reach the core of them and pull them out of that darkness. That's the person they're going to be the most, like, really, really triggered by.
mm,
Right. So a lot of people who are possessed, there's various degrees of possession. The most common is a low grade type possession, where it's more of an inhabitation. The parasite, the demonic, it is not there uninvited.
mm,
It's there, like, it's like a house guest, a roommate, a house guest that's become a roommate, and so they're welcome in the body.
mm,
um, Other types of possession are not so welcome, but they use intrusive thoughts, they use mimicry. A lot of, I would say, probably 98% of people's intrusive thoughts are something parasitic trying to incept thoughts into you. They're trying to get you to believe something about yourself or someone in your environment. For example, and I use this example because it's the most current thing that I'm dealing with. My stalker believes that I'm Mary Magdalene, Jesus's wife, and that he's continued to say that he is Jesus and that we belong together. And it's this thing of like, where do you even get this? Like, literally, where do you get this? It comes from this space of having been in a private session, at which point they asked me point blank, were you Jesus' wife? And I was like, what do I say to that? Like, I don't think I am, but do I want to embarrass my client?
mm,
And so that's the thing. A lot of us, when we deal with someone who is possessed, parasitic, whatever it is, it's helping you to learn how to better establish and maintain boundaries.
mm,
And from that one moment on, several years later, that it was that one moment of me not knowing how to respond,
mm.
rather than just being like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not. I was just like, um, because what do you say to that?
Mm,
And that's the very basis that's been used as a justification for my maltreatment, my continued maltreatment, the threats and all of that. So, and they won't know, they really won't realize the gravity of the insanity, like the pure insanity. These are people who, they will say one thing and then they'll retract it if it doesn't work. It's very, very similar to true psychiatric pathology, like true psychiatric disease, mental disease. But here's the thing, it goes beyond just the mental. It enters into a space of very malignant energy, very, very malignant energy. The most common types of possession symptoms are very similar to narcissism. Narcissism with like a sprinkle of sociopathic disconnection, because sociopaths, they will get whatever they want when they want it, by whatever means they need to use to get it, right? There's that emotional disconnect. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm basing this off of some pretty extensive education I received as I was once upon a time working to earn my psychology degree. So it's one of those things where, whether they're possessed or not, once you start exhibiting symptoms of mental pathology, I'm kind of out. I'm not equipped to deal with that. I'm not willing to allow you to traumatize me in exchange for possibly helping you realize things. Like, I'm good. I'm really good off that. No, thank you. You know?
Indeed. And can I ask you, in cases in which the compete compare theme is not so much pronounced, but let's ask about, let's say, have you come across any instances in which the person has become codependent on an entity and like that's his or her BFF?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You guys have witnessed this. There was a person for a short period who was like, Emmy is a thief and she's a scammer and all of these crazy things. And I was just like, say what you want. All you're doing is inviting me to speak openly and publicly about your experience with me privately. Um,
Mhm.
this had to do with, it's a parasitic extraction. It was this person who, after that, I was like, no more face-to-face video chat extractions. Like, I'm good. It's all going to be done via email. We're going to keep that contained. And so, the in the middle of the extraction, um, the individual was like, "Wait, where did you put it?" And it's like, "Whoa, yikes."
Wow.
Yeah, and I should have listened to Michael, because right at the start of the session, it was this thing of, he told me specifically, because all my sessions are recorded for my safety.
Mhm.
Uh, he told me specifically, reiterate your store policy,
Mm.
reiterate refund policy. And so I was like, what? Why would I need to do that?
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I told the individual, so just to make sure, if you are not ready to let this go, we should absolutely stop right now. I can still refund you.
Yeah.
And it was a reiteration of, once I do the work, you will no longer qualify for a refund. And if you are seeking the being, if you miss it, it will come right back in. But I cannot refund you because I've already performed the work. And it was a case of that.
Ooh, did that also set a precedence for your policy? Did you change it after that? Like, okay, let me give all the information so you can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
And any decision is based upon this information that you're given, and no refunds after you've been given this information. Is that, did that kind of happen after that?
Oh, yes. Well, I already had all of that in place,
Mhm.
but after that singular session, I went ahead and put the settings on my website where you cannot purchase
Mm,
until you click the box that states you have read the entire policy that is available.
yeah.
You're encouraged to read it before you process. And unless that's checked, you are not completing that transaction, baby boo.
As a
You are.
policy person, I respect that so much. And even as far, even not being a policy person, just the integrity of it. And you even have FAQs in your site to
Yeah.
reiterate the information that is available in your more extended policies. That's important.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And that's the thing with that type of circumstance. Um, when people have another being that's living inside them, they have a tendency to not be able to understand the gravity of what's being communicated.
Mm,
It's not uncommon for someone who has some type of advanced parasitic situation to totally hear me, and then I confirm that they understand, and they're like, yes, I understand, only to turn around and do the complete opposite of what I've instructed, to prevent a worsening of the condition until their session. And
mm,
it's just like, I'm just not take it personal. Because it's this thing of like,
yeah,
I'm exposing myself to this stuff. You're
yeah.
endangering me more. But
Mm,
they don't understand this. It's not, they are not doing this intentionally.
mhm,
That's the
mhm.
thing that we have to understand. I'm not making excuses for people. I'm stating it as a fact. They literally don't understand the gravity of what's going on,
Mm,
because parasites, if they're advanced, they will absolutely modify your brain function. They're very well versed in human anatomy and physiology.
mm, mm,
The only types of parasites that are not that advanced, uh, yeah, no, you'll see the marks. They'll leave marks where they're attaching to your body.
mm,
They're the ones that, are very, very easy to detect. Like the average person feels like something's wrong. It's usually because it's a lower level parasite. Those are super easy to remove. But most of us, as we ascend, you know, we attract parasites that are much more advanced, much more sophisticated in their capabilities, their skills, their knowledge of the human body. Parasites live a very, very long time. They're energy, so they're immortal. You know, how many lifetimes, how many human lifetimes have they been present? It's like being an eternal college student. Of course, you're going to master anatomy if you've taken it, 700, 800 years. Like, yes, that's child's play to you, right? So that's one of the things to consider when someone has something parasitic going on. Parasites are very well versed. Like,
Mm.
for example, part of the reason I was born into the family that I was born into was because there was an awareness of the very high potentiality of being groomed for a medical degree, medical job, career. And so from childhood, I remember one of my most favorite books in preschool was the Charlie Brown Anatomy Encyclopedia. In preschool. I carried that book around with me everywhere. We got it from Alpha Beta. I still remember. I
Wow.
love that book. I love that book
That's
so
beautiful.
much. And that's the thing. I needed to have a very pronounced understanding of human function and form so that as I grow and my experiences help me to develop, that information will help me to also understand a lot of what I need to do to negate parasitic attempts.
Mm.
There is a structure within the human brain called the Wernicke's area. That's the part of the brain that is responsible for interpretation of verbal communication.
Mm.
What is one of the most common areas for a parasite to latch onto? Wernicke's area.
Mm.
Because guess what? I'm going to manipulate everything someone says to you, and you're going to hear something different.
Mm.
Because the more drama and trauma I create for you, the less you'll be able to notice that I'm around.
Mm. Now, someone out there may be wondering, with all of these nuances, how can I best help someone that I'm called to help with when I see that they may have this going on? Like, how can a person help a person? I mean, it's a very delicate situation. You have to be careful because this whole thing could backfire on you, and you could become the drama, or even worse, you could, get some of the a whiff of whatever they got. But like, how would you suggest a friend or a family member or someone, a spouse or however, how would you suggest that person approach it?
Um, you can approach it from a place of genuine concern.
Mm.
You can let them know, like, hey, you know what? I was watching a video earlier today, and this girl was talking about these symptoms and that it might involve energetic parasites. And it kind of sounded like she was describing you. Would you be open to hearing more about it? Because I don't approach it from the hokey pokey side of spirituality. I approach it and explain it from a more metaphysical, quasi scientific, quantum keylontic aspect. Right? Nothing about what I'm talking about sounds hokey pokey. It sounds very like, okay, she's using anatomical terms. She is talking about actual anatomy and physiology. And so people have a tendency to be more open to, my take on things. I would not try and extract them yourself because oftentimes a parasite will use that person as a Trojan to access you.
Mm.
Yes. So I mean, if you're not comfortable with me working with your family, that's perfectly okay. But you need to find someone who actually knows what they're doing. I'm not talking about, find someone who has a better price, because let me tell you, if I had a penny for every time a person claims to do what I do, specifically that phrase, I do what Emmy does. We would have had the sanctuary built already, girl. We would have been taking my private jet.
Okay.
Mhm.
One penny
And
for this time, right?
not even a dollar, a penny. Yeah. So that's the thing, these people don't understand the full gravity of what needs to happen on their end in order to simply prepare to see you. Now, this is part of the reason why I started the academy, K33 Academy, why I've begun my certification program. My students absolutely know the risks and they know how to mitigate those risks. You know exactly what to do. I mean, you were certified as well, Odin, and you know firsthand the emphasis that I place in level one just on security,
Hmm.
safety, security, sterilization of the energetic field, making sure none of what you're going through is being taken in by the client. There's no commingling of energies, all of that. Unless you can find a practitioner who knows and has that level of integrity, you're probably going to be joining some type of energetic orgy in that space. I hate to put it in those terms, but that's the most accurate way to describe it. It's an energetic orgy.
And
You're
a
just
lot of
commingling
practitioners,
energies.
I would think, don't even know they're possessed either. And this isn't against anybody. Just like she's talking about, it's much more common amongst a lot of people. Practitioners are people too, and they
Yeah.
deal with a lot of people. Some know that they have attachments, and I think that some really don't know.
Yeah, most people don't know. Most people don't know. I've worked on quite a few energetic practitioners, energy workers, who have considerable followings. Definitely not going to name any names. They weren't aware that they had something parasitic,
Hmm.
you know, and that it was a very pronounced parasitic thing. Now, we have to give them credit for finally, like, you know what, something's off. Let me go to someone that I know,
Hmm.
right? So that they have to have, you got to give them some kind of credit for that. That takes a lot of courage
Hmm.
because you have to work through ego to get to that stage.
Hmm. Yeah.
I need to go to someone who knows more than me,
Hmm.
right? I mean, and here's the thing, guys, I can be breached too. It's not it's not unheard of for me to go to one of my students. I've gone to Ocean and be like, girl, do I possess you? Are you angry today? She's like, oh no. I'm like, are you sure?
Right.
I'll go to one of my BFS and be like, girl, do I make your face feel weird? Because, it's just like, because I gotta know, do I need to be cleansed?
Absolutely, though. That's real. That's important.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Gaze asks, can people's intrusive thoughts and words be transferred to one even when not in proximity? A projection of thoughts, yeah, it can be. If you are an empath and they are a sender type of person, a projector, then yes, they absolutely can project that intrusive thought.
Mm.
Projectors, people who are projectors, have a tendency to not even realize that they are a projector. Yeah. Um, ooh. Do you want to read this one, Ocean?
Okay, let me read it on my phone because you always got something to say about my eyes and my mother and everybody else. I'm not the one with the problem, it's everybody else. It's not. Hi, Emmy and Ocean. Hi, by the way. I've been truly wondering about this topic. My grandson sees true forms and he's harassed by some. So I wondered if their physical body knows why they treat him this way. It's a very good question.
What's your feeling on this?
Um, of course, my first instinct would be, yeah, they're aware. Like if this is going on, they're aware. But also, I would say it's not always. Okay, let me read it again. Huh? Let me be wise. Let me read it again. Yeah, the grandson, if this is going on, if it's something energetic, the grandson could be really special. They could have knowledge of that. And like you said before in your live streams, because people have come about their children or what have you, and they want to, they are taking advantage because he's young, because he can't really on this level do too much, whatever. But I would always say, when in doubt, it's not bad to seek assistance from someone who is skilled in that area. So I would like to know, Emmy, what do you think?
I completely agree with you. That's the sense that I get, is that they're aware that he's aware. And so, they're taking advantage of the lack of life experience, the lack of maturity, since, he's still at the age that he is. And all of this will be to his benefit as an adult. Having lived through that myself as a young child, being very much tormented by parasitic things, um, being very, very, very non-stop onslaught of sounds and sensations, not knowing what that was. It really created opportunities for consistent trauma-induced accretion environments within my body. And that's why I have access to so much of my abilities. Those pathways weren't allowed to dilate, weren't allowed to atrophy. They were kept dilated. And so once I developed enough of my maturity, I was able to use those pathways to access not just my gifts, but memories of so many of my past lives. So, it's still very difficult for the child. They are still a child. Um, it's also difficult for the adults who are aware of what the child is going through. But, as humans, we're very limited in our perception and our understanding. Excuse me. And so it becomes a very, very difficult struggle to watch, a child that you love struggling in that way, and not knowing how to help or if you should help at all. Everything is part of a divine plan. People think that because it's considered a divine plan, it has to be like fairy tale like, all fluffy and rainbows, unicorns, and, something always just positive. That's so far from the truth. Divinity has nothing to do with positivity or negativity. It has to do with the proximity to the consciousness and will of creation. It has nothing to do with our concept of that polarity of good and bad. So everything is part of a divine plan, and we are simply living the unfoldment of that exploration of thought, sight, and sound. That's what creation is. Yeah. This is a very powerful comment. Catherine says, I've had many extractions. However, it helped me to realize areas I need to work on within myself. Yes. That's very, very true. Catherine's been with me for quite some time, and she has come such a long, long way. Such this ripening of like, what do I need to do? Oh my gosh, Emmy, help me to like, which part of my thought process was utilized? Okay, I need to change this. Okay, I think it might be this person being used as a Trojan. Just so much progression, so much progression. I'm so proud of you, Catherine. You've come such a long, long way, like such a long way. Yeah. Erin says, I haven't heard you talk about the fairy that was in your life. I think its name is Bish. Bish is my.
Why she had to ask that when I'm on air? You know how Pedro. Well, I love Pedro. I don't know what it is, but
Pedro is a little bit bishy sometimes, but his name is Pedro. Bish is my pendulum. And so Pedro is a fairy that found me and followed me from Peru. Yeah. That's where
Apple bread and Pedro. Between those two, I don't even know. No, there's one more.
No, I
know what that other one is.
I don't think I ever told you, but apples are his favorite fruit.
Are they? Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet.
Are you part fairy? Is that what it is?
I don't know if I'm part fairy, but I have felt like a fairy-like theme around me, especially when I was younger. Very, very strong when I was younger.
I think your gang name is going to be Tink.
Tink. We have Disney Parade and we have Tink. We have so many. Whole Carrier Army, all of that stuff. That's something else.
You're not going to be Tinkerbell. Tink is short for Tinkerbella.
Tinkerbella.
Yes.
Tell
Yeah,
me more. Tell me more. I'm listening.
Tinkerbella, okay?
Wow. Wow.
This is a really good comment as well. I've always asked myself why different beings don't want us to grow spiritually as human beings.
Mm,
These are beings that are content, their sense of self and personal power, their awareness and use of their personal power is contingent on their ability to dominate, to subjugate. And that is why they don't want you to grow beyond a certain point, because then they can no longer access you. That's what I've found. Let's see. Can parasites be redeemed in the sense of finding their connection to source? That would have to be their personal choice. It would. It would have to be their personal choice. They would need to come to some level of awareness. Parasites are much more aware than humans. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. They have a level of awareness where they know that divinity exists, but
mm,
their level of awareness is not developed enough to understand that they have a permanent connection to this source of energy and creation, and that they don't have to compete and compare and feed anymore. So that's the thing that kind of makes them act the way they do. It's like we are the kindergartners, parasites are maybe like the fourth or fifth graders, where they kind of, they're in that space between a little kid and a bigger kid. They're not yet a teenager, so they're not going to fully challenge authority, but they're going to try and do things that they think they can get away with. So I think that's like the perfect analogy. Let's see. Okay. Um, these are some really good questions.
mhm.
Can you permanently cut a demon cord that was planted by an ex partner's energy signature? I feel the energy trying to intrude my thoughts with strange darkness. Okay, so do you want to answer this? I know you know.
I'm gonna tell you, I was laughing at at Nene's comment, Apple Tink, and I didn't even see that part. So let me read. Let's see. Mm. Can you permanently cut a demon cord? Uh-oh. Nay. That was planted by an ex-partner's energy signature. I feel the energy trying to intrude my thoughts. Be strange darkness. Okay, so I would say um, there's like an episode that we did about chords, and that would be really, really good to watch. Um, Emmy removes cords, but she doesn't cut cords. And there's a very, very, very good reason for that. You want to address the cord at its root. You want to address the actual problem and eliminate the problem. You don't want to have a temporary fix, or sometimes it's not even a temporary fix. Sometimes it's even worse, right? Um, so without going too much into K33 information, I would say no, you can't. The short answer is no, you can't. You can address it, but cutting is not going to address it like it needs to be addressed. But there's something you can do. NME does have a core removal service, which would probably be really good. But I also like to always say, and even the person that has the grandson, that's kind of been in my mind too. But this can kind of help both of you too. I think that, like me personally, I've told people about Emmy services, and I like to start with getting a scan. If you have something like that going on, getting a scan. Or clear tarot reading, I don't necessarily think I would start right. You have to do what you feel fit, right? What you see fit. But it's always great, especially if you want to kind of have a better idea of what's going on. You kind of want to see before you get that private session. A scan is a great place to start if you feel like something's going on energetically with you, or if you want more clarity before you even get a private session. A clear tarot is very good because she has these on Sundays or Saturdays, and it can give you a lot of information to help you make an informed decision about how you want to proceed, right? So, what's your answer, Amy?
Everything that you said, plus if it's an ex-partner, then most likely you've been sexually intimate. And with that, there's a very high likelihood of pressurized direct port injection through intercourse, and that would need to be cleaned up. Um, it's much easier for something to be planted close to your core code when you're intimate in that setting. More than just mental and emotional intimacy, physical intimacy gives access to deep core type codes. So that's definitely, I feel like that's part of the issue, that they were able to um, anchor very, very close to that port. If you were to look at the way a cervix functions, it's basically like a portal to a sacred space, right? It's the opening to the sacred temple. And when someone is physically intimate with another person, you guys are commingling DNA. And with that, that stays in your system for quite a long time, quite a long time. And as their DNA is there, that gives anchor points. Every part of that cellular material gives the possibility for an anchor point. You cannot address cords by cutting them. You can't. You can cut a cord, absolutely, but you can get energetic hemorrhaging. You can experience things that can be very similar to that of a etheric stroke. You can have hydroplasmic clots traveling through your system, creating blockages and so much devastation. Uh, a lot of people, they don't want to hear that. They want to believe what's said on Pinterest and TikTok of just call Michael. Michael is not a personal assistant, yo. He is not. The one time like years ago, I wanted him to cut a cord, and he's like, cut it yourself.
Because they better put some respect on my name.
I would sprinkle it like this. So, but yeah, no, he was like, cut it yourself. I was like, ew, why are you so mean? He's like, I'm not your assistant. He was mad. He was
Oh,
offended. Yeah.
wow.
I was upset. And I was like, I don't know how. That's why I'm asking you. And he is like, and then that's how I know how to address cords.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I was ready to just cut it just like that, how people say. And then he was like, well, what would happen to you, your anatomy if you did something like that? And I was like, hemorrhaging, clots, I don't know. And he goes, translate that to energy.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was a long conversation that we had about it. Very, very long conversation. And so a lot of the information that's being put out there, you guys have to be careful, use discernment. It's not that I'm the only one who can do this, it's that you have to know how to properly do it so that you can do it safely. Okay. There's going to need to be a need to like cleanse your physical body, a lot of energetic detoxing. You probably would need to have a cord removal. It would probably also be advisable to do an Iwamofo candle ceremony. Um, you probably will also need to have quite a bit of chakra work done, simply because once that energy gets pressure injected, direct port injection, that has a tendency to accumulate in the chakras as well. The chakras will help to funnel it and filter it before it reaches your morphogenetic template. Now, if it's been allowed to exist within your space for a prolonged period, it's usually like I don't know, maybe upwards of 4 years or so. It has to be a prolonged period. Eventually, those fragments of consciousness from someone else that were direct port injected, it will begin to enter into your morphogenetic template. And that's where you get the soul ties, karmic things happening. And it's stuff that needs to be corrected as soon as you can, as soon as you're aware and able to have it corrected. That's when you should. But again, if you can't get something done immediately, just know it usually will take quite a bit of prolonged exposure to that before it really does a lot of the devastating type damage. So
Mm.
you still have a little bit of a window to do these things and get the repairs done, even if it's over 4 or 5 years. If you go to someone who is very skilled in what they do, they could still be able to help you, so long as you're in the mindset to allow for that help to truly do what it's intended to do. I know for a fact all of my students in level one who have certified through level one of my program, they're capable of doing this. They're capable of helping you with this. I know that for a fact. So, you have some options. You definitely have some options. It's something that you shouldn't be forced to continue to deal with. Yeah.
And I would like to ask, because you kind of brought it up, so you're taught to do this for yourself in K33CP. Are you taught to do this for yourself in the K33 monthly membership also? Do you all
Yes.
discuss that? Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
And next question is, just to clarify, your cord removal service, does it also come with that clearing of the chakras too, or is that a separate service that someone has to get?
It does. I clean out the whole system whenever I do energetic work on someone. I don't list it on the website, but really, in order for my energetic work to be as thorough as I prefer it to be for my standards, I'm going to work on all your chakras, because really, I'm an overachiever like you wouldn't believe, and I'm about efficiency. I'm sure you believe it now. People don't understand the gravity of what I'm saying until they see me living my life, and then
Right.
they're like, "Oh, she wasn't joking."
No, not joking at all. At all,
She's not
guys.
exaggerating either. She
Any
really.
in any area.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I I like to be as thorough as possible, and I don't necessarily need to do the extra, like, oh, well, you have to book this too and that too. If it's something that is not going to be excessive, I can just go ahead and do it as part of what I'm doing if it's going to facilitate what I'm doing, what the session is for. Now, the thing with my monthly membership for the K33 program is that if your condition is already far advanced, then it's not going to be enough to resolve your issue.
Mm,
If it's at the start of it, or if it's, a mild, maybe even moderate type of circumstance, you probably can still address it yourself with the things that I teach in the class. But that class is more geared towards self maintenance of your field. The thing is, it's so efficient that it can address some of the things that have been existing for quite some time, barring parasitic situations.
mhm.
What Sheeman Renee is describing is more of a parasitic incubus type behavior. So that's something that's pretty far advanced.
Yeah.
If it wasn't like that, then yeah, I think if you went ahead and tried the program long enough, you could eventually clear that yourself and maintain it yourself as well. But the program's really good for addressing the more lower grade type situations, as well as maintaining your field. A good portion of the people in the K33 membership, it's an ongoing membership program, they eventually transition into the certification program because they develop enough skill to be able to work on other people safely.
That's really
Yeah.
good. Now, do you offer the cord repressor extractor activation as an expedite sometimes, or is that something you do specifically for private sessions?
Well, it was specifically for private sessions before, but I have been known to include it in expedites here and there. It's a really, really good type of activation because it helps to repel whatever attempts. Now, everything that I do, the efficacy of it has a lot to do with the person's willingness to allow that to work in the way that it is meant to work. Most people, they're perfectly fine, and it works for them exactly in the way that I intend for it to work. For some people, they've been really convinced by whoever their perpetrator is that they are powerless, and in that situation, there's openings, pockets of doubt that are left in the field
Mm,
that will give room for, some of the re-entry of that person's energy.
mm.
What am I doing to the screen? Is it my side of the screen?
Mhm.
What am I doing to?
Yeah,
Because I'm
we'll
seeing
put it
one
on the
side just black.
screen. So let me see if anybody noticed anything with the screen. Anybody see changes in Emmy's screen on her side? Let's see. Nene say yes. Mm-hmm.
You waiting for people to snitch me out?
Mhm. You know it.
This is a good question by Kitty Claw. Is a fourth dimension hell, and what do you think it's like there in the parasite's world? I personally believe that hell is an internal circumstance. It has a lot to do with thoughts so intrusive that they separate you from your own divinity. The parasite's world is very similar to our world, except it's more deconstructed. From what I've seen, it's like post apocalyptic. Fourth dimension is their primary playground. It's also the astral realm. Now, for those who like to astral project, please know the loveliness that you see in that fourth dimensional space oftentimes is a thought incepted. It's a thought inception. It's been incepted into you. It's a hologram. So just be careful what you connect with on the astral. There are those who can do astral projections safely, but most people cannot. You got to be careful about what you bring back to your body with you from the astral realm. And for those who are like, oh, yeah, no, astral is super safe. I meet my twin there every night and we have a date.
Uh-oh.
Um, okay. That's all I, okay. Okay. That's all I can say.
That's all you can say.
Yes. Lindsay is asking, can the parasites ever evolve to where they don't need to feed off of us?
That's an
Uh,
interesting question.
they actually don't even need to feed off of us.
Mm,
It's a perception. So if they're ready to take accountability and to kind of like reconnect with their own internal divinity, then yeah, no, they don't have to feed off of us. They don't have to now. It's this fear. It's a very fear driven distortion. See, we are lucky because we are not developed enough to have the level of awareness to develop the type of fear that the parasites have.
mm,
That's what separates us from them. Is our lack of ability to um, understand to the degree that we would have that type of fear.
mm.
Gaze says addictions have become a global nightmare. Do you have a specific service that can assist those going through this, especially on the mental space? That I would highly recommend an extended mentorship. I've been very successful with people who are truly ready to address addictions. I saw a post somewhere where people were trying to separate a physical addiction, a physical dependency to a substance, and an actual addiction. An addiction is a mental state that's often propagated by a physical dependency to a substance. They're not one and the same, but they hold hands, very intimately hold each other's hands. So I'm able to understand people and see them to the degree that they can hold my hand instead of the addiction. And then I can also do work that can help facilitate the capping off of the receptors that allow for certain types of processes that will then help to rapidly detox. But heavy emphasis on um, depending on what you're addicted to, this type of energy work can become dangerous. Rapid detox from certain types of substances can affect your vital signs. It can be very dangerous. It could affect your brain function. It could affect the chemical composition in your body. So you guys have to be very, very, very careful about what you do. with people who are claiming to be able to help your addiction. I don't know if other people have the capacity to address um, addictions and physical dependencies at the same degree that I can. um, be careful if you're coming across someone who says that they can, because again, it's this matter of, are they saying they can, or can they really? Right? And if they can really, do they have the same type of understanding of anatomy and physiology that I just intrinsically have? So that's a very, you got to stay safe. Okay. I one time, it was done on a live stream. I had someone, I believe, if I remember right, because it was quite a few years ago, I believe they were addicted to benzos. And it had to do with a prescription. And they were just, they had some type of injury. And it wasn't this thing of, oh, they're a junkie. And no, not at all. Okay. So, because of that chronic pain, they became addicted. And during the live stream, they were telling me that they had gotten, I think, to like a pill a day that they'd break in half, and one in the morning, one at night, something like that. They were very low already in their dosage. They were afraid of that next step that would completely take them off. And so I was like, I can rapidly detox you. At which point it's going to be a mental connection to the substance. Is that something you want me to do? And they said yes. And so I was very clear of, if you are familiar with the signs of rapid detox and what is safe for you and what is not, then I can do this with you. If you don't know what is safe and you are afraid to go to the ER, I will not do this with you. And so they assured me they understood what symptoms to look for. They worked closely with their doctor. I said, okay, I'll rapid detox you. So I did during the live stream. And they were experiencing symptoms of rapid detox as soon as the live stream was done. They were one of the last people that I worked on years ago. And whew, gosh, yes, they went through withdrawal. That freaked them out. That freaked them the heck out. And they were like, should I take another one? And I said, listen, I'm not a doctor. You need your vitals monitored. You need to go to the ER right now. So they went to the ER. They were perfectly fine. It was more of a panic attack. But, I told them, like, you need to go to the ER right now. This is not something that we can mitigate via Zoom using energy. This is a very real circumstance. And they went to the ER. They were administered, I want to say, double or triple the dosage to stabilize them. The detox was rapid. And so, yeah, they were fine though. But yeah, that was definitely something that needed to be addressed in the ER. Absolutely. So, yes, I can assist, but you have to be in full compliance with what I'm asking you to do. And that includes going to the ER when I ask you to go, you know? But yeah, if it's not that severe where the detox would cause, life threatening type circumstance, I mean, we could totally go through that. I've helped quite a few people halt quite a few very, very um, hard substances. I've assisted clients with meth addiction, addiction to cocaine, a whole bunch prescriptions, a whole bunch of different things. So it depends on the person. How ready are they? And you guys, I will be very clear right now. I'm very transparent. When a client books mentorship with me and they're not ready, like mentally they are, emotionally they're not, I will be upfront and I will tell them, listen, you can use me as your crutch. You're not ready yet. Okay. You're not ready. I never have clients do something that I feel they are not ready for. If their higher self is communicating to me that it's not yet time, nope, I'm not doing it. We'll hold off or whatever it is, but we're not doing it. I will not endanger someone just to prove that I can do something. Like, nope, no. I'm not in this for ego. No, thank you. You
Yeah.
know? So
That's
yeah, thank you. Let's see. There's more questions. Um, here. As I've moved into new stages of growth over the years, I've noticed a pattern of past lives coming to awareness, a new one or a different part each time. Is this something that usually happens? Yes, you're integrating those past lives. I very deeply and wholeheartedly believe that everyone alive right now is being given the opportunity to integrate and process and clear out that entire karmic load through every single lifetime you've lived up until this point. We are being prepared to start completely fresh. You are in a position of tremendous power and you don't even realize it yet. So, yes, do what you can to integrate those past lives. Michael.
Uh-oh. Hey, I didn't say anything. That's strictly between you and Michael. I have
Woo!
nothing to do with that.
Yeah, so I was like, you need to do everything you can to reintegrate and process those lives. And he's standing here like this beside me, right? Like facing the screen, just staring straight ahead. He goes, "That's
Wow.
funny. Why do you refuse to integrate the twin information?"
Oh. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with that. I'm just here. I have nothing to do with that.
I might as well give Marlene a microphone too. I mean, let's.
Oh my goodness. Is she going at it?
Uh,
Guys, y'all are probably about to see me go like this. She about to do something, about to be kind of somewhere over here somewhere. I don't know if she's
like
gonna
this.
yeah.
Turn off the comms. Turn the comms down. Turn them off.
That's hilarious.
They're too much.
Wow.
They're too much, is what it is. They're too much.
Wow.
So Maria says, Emmy and Ocean, can trauma set off 20 plus years of reliving the same nightmare of how I was murdered, then meet the person in this lifetime and the nightmare stops?
Mm.
Yes, because at that point, you're clearing out that karmic load, like I was saying. So, and it depends on what happens after you meet the person, and that can greatly clear much of that, and you won't have to repeat it again. Ooh, do you know much about the RH negative?
Curious about the RH negative and blood types. I have seen info. I have seen info on it, but not sure I completely understand. I'm, y'all. I'm sorry. Emmy, I can feel the conversations around you.
I know, girl. Don't pay no mind. Ignore it. These two.
It was like, woo, there's so much activity around her, guys. Oh,
No, all the guides and guardians are now. They're all around. Like,
wow.
I want to choke myself. If they don't shush, I will squeeze. I will squeeze.
I'll just say this, and I'm gonna go right back to Nikki Turner's question and minding my business. But I felt that it was bigger than what it appeared to be. And that's one reason I said, well, two reasons for me to drink my water and mind my business the other day. Like, you know what I mean? Yes.
I'm gonna start shoving Moldavite in my ears.
Are you?
Yeah, no, I have.
I got one.
I have them all right here.
I think Moldavite is going to help you. If you're
There's air. I
if
think they'll fit in my ears.
you're trying to bypass something, I think Moldavite might actually amplify it.
Oh, don't say that. I'm putting it away.
I mean,
Putting it away.
I'm no specialist, but maybe cotton might be better than Moldavite. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? No, I'll stop. I'll get the Moldavite away. I'm gonna stop.
Hilarious. So Nikki, hi fam. Thank you very much for your question. She asked, curious about the RH negative and blood types. I've seen some info on it, but not sure I completely understand. Okay, so Nikki, I'm going to pass this directly to Emmy because I don't know what to tell you, honey.
All right. So I don't know enough to be speaking very confidently about the RH negative, but I just know it's alien. It's alien stuff. Okay. So here's the thing. Rh negative is a type of protein, and it's not really compatible with, I guess you could say, human blood. Anyone who's Rh positive, the rhesus blood type, Rh positive, if you're positive and your mother is negative, her body will attack you.
Mm.
It will attack the baby. So, what I found is that there are those who are Rh negative but hidden, a hidden negative, which is what I am. I do carry that, but because I have the positive, it hides it. I don't know if I'm making sense. This topic really makes me super anxious.
Mm.
So I was having a conversation with Michael, and I was going, he was showing me all these different lines, lineages that I come from, right? My ancestral lineages. And I do have, because I'm Filipina, and there was a lot of conquistadors that came and conquered my peoples, right? And so for many modern Filipinos, it's just kind of common knowledge that there is a high likelihood that you have conquistador ancestry. You have Spanish blood. My last name being Garcia, clearly, I probably have a higher concentration than the average person. I've never met my paternal grandfather, but I have heard some relatives talking about he was either half or um, a fourth Spaniard. And I'm just like, whatever. Well, talking to a friend and then having conversations with Michael, my desire to know more about my paternal side led me to the Basque people in Spain that have the highest concentration of Rh negative blood. They're one of the oldest, I guess you could say, communities. And so they have a very, very high concentration of that Rh negative blood. People who have Rh negative have a tendency to have certain types of characteristics. They have a tendency to have certain types of abilities. They have a tendency to experience pregnancies with very similar types of symptoms. It's not always all exact, but it's definitely, a very common occurrence for them to experience certain types of things. Like when I am pregnant, my body goes bonkers and is trying to kill me and the baby from like week 3 or 4. I have to be on bed rest from like week 3 or 4. And my body continues to reject everything. My body won't respond to medication very in the same way that other people would. I have all of the different type of characteristics. If you go and look it up online, I have all of those different types of characteristics that someone with Rh negative blood would have for certain types of situations. But my tests don't show as Rh negative. So there's this thing that people talk about, which is a hidden negative. And again, I don't know too much. I don't know enough about it to speak confidently on it, but it's definitely a fascinating thing. It's definitely a fascinating thing. People with Rh negative blood have a tendency, a higher likelihood of having dragon eyes. Have you guys heard about that? Dragon eyes?
I haven't.
So they tend to have these birthmarks on their eyes that are considered dragon eyes, and it gives them the ability to see with clarity, intuitively,
Mm.
clairvoyantly. Yeah, it's very fascinating. So I have, there's marks on my eyeballs.
Mhm.
I'm not going to show you guys. There's marks on my eyeballs high up and deep inside that if I roll my eyes back into my head, you'll see it. But yeah, and each of those marks has a vein, has a red like artery that goes directly to the mark and feeds it blood. I know. It's just crazy stuff that I'm telling you guys, the type of information that I come across because of conversations with Michael, because I'm always like, prove it.
Last words, right?
Yeah, prove it. Show me. And then next thing you know, random person is messaging me like, hey, Emmy, have you heard of blah, blah, blah? I'm like,
Wow. It said he who asks questions cannot avoid the answers.
exactly. He who challenges to have it proven will get what they ask for.
Get the smack down.
right? So Kitty Claw asks, is it like a dreamscape also? Are you talking about fourth dimension? Yes. A very good representation of 4D is the movie What Dreams May Come.
Mm.
Have you guys seen that? It's with what's his name? I see his face. William something. Hold on, let me look at the movie. What is his name? I see his face. Here, Robin Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. It looks like a painting. That's the name of the movie, What Dreams May Come.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's so tragic, but I love it.
Mm.
Yeah. So it can be like a escape. It can be something that is very scary. It could be something that looks beautiful. It all depends on what you're interacting with and who's projecting those thoughts and imagery. What do you want to say?
I don't want to say it. I feel prompted to say it, but I don't. This is so random. Emmy, I'm hearing come through. They want to come through.
They need to mind their own business. They need to more than just drink their water. They need to bathe in it.
Oh my goodness.
Don't you be opening your ears, Marlene. This woman. Don't do it. She will not stop talking to you if you do.
No, it's not telling me they want to come through to me. It's you. They want to come through. Like I'm hearing, it's time. And it seems, oh gosh. I know this episode is not about this, but oh wow. Girl, this is deep, 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 deep. Marlene, but not just Marlene, and like long, 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 plus tax time ago. Like not even Marlene and this lifetime and her lifetime, like long time ago. Like it's time. Something is wanting to pass through. The return, all of that stuff. Girl, I don't know why you have me
So
on this.
like the resolution of constipation.
I
Constipated?
think it's a little it's a little smoother than that. Unless you're just really no, it's not gonna be smoother than that, girl. Okay, questions from the audience. Let's see.
Do your protections go with you when you're astral? Do they stay with the body? Your protections and your capability goes with your consciousness. The body, when you go fully astral, the body becomes suspended because not enough of your consciousness battery, your energy, is with the body. So it goes into a like a holding state. All right, let's see. This one, Queen of Hearts. Can you explain the chakras above the base 7 and what they're associated with in the body and how we can work with them? So yes, we have 15 total main chakras. We have the 7 primary and the 8 morphogenetic. And then you have the secondary and tertiary chakras. You have at least as many secondary and tertiary chakras as you do meridian points. And there's lots of them. What they're associated with within the body and how we can work with them, that becomes a very complex thing to explain because a couple of those are roving and are not associated with a physical body. How can you work with them? It's going to be very difficult for you to work with them if you haven't already fully mastered the 7 primary and 8 morphogenetic, like the lower ones. So anything above the 7th will begin to connect you to your Christ consciousness. That's why they stop at 7. When you hear people are saying like, oh no, she's wrong, there's only 12 chakras. No, actually that stops at 4th harmonic universe when we have 5. So it's cutting you off at the avatar when you actually have the capacity to reach your Rishik self. Not everyone has the capacity to reach the Rishik self. If you can reach the Rishik self, you have the capacity typically to activate 48 strands of DNA rather than simply 12, 24, or 36. You can activate 48 um, without, and you can begin receiving information from the Rishik self. That's the highest point of connection that you can reach while still in body. Sometimes you guys will feel me in my energy shift when I'm communicating a very profound message. I had someone recently commenting, like, she can feel and sense the shift in my energy and my voice and all of that, and the way I speak, the way I hold myself changes. The more profound the message, the more likely that message is being given by my Rishik self. I hope that makes sense. I completely agree with this, Queen of Hearts. I completely agree. He is a ringleader right now. Not my monkeys, not my circus, not my clown car or hobbits exiting the car. I'm going to say that one last time, Michaela.
Excuse me, I forgot my water. Can I get my water? Forgot my water.
Oh, girl, I didn't even read this before I put on the screen. Speaking of twins and fresh starts, does that mean the slate is about to be wiped clean for them as well? It depends on the type of purpose they're serving and what type of work they're here to do, right? So, Melba, Marley need her own show. You know what I'm saying? You know
Human
what I'm saying? I'm saying.
Wow.
The tiny hole you mean right here? My husband has that. It's almost like a malformation. That's something that was supposed to have closed up as the baby was forming. Sometimes oil, sweat, and cellular material gets gunked up in there, and you got to clean it out. Sometimes it kind of leaks out a little bit. But yeah, that's not as uncommon as people think. Quite a few people have that. It's some type of malformation, but it shouldn't be anything really bad or like detrimental to the person. Um, okay, hold on. Um, let's see. Oh, this is beautiful. As long as you know it's your guide, absolutely. Yes, your guide can definitely help you have a beautiful, beautiful experience in the astral. But again, you guys have to use your discernment. You have to use your shielding and protection, whatever it is, to make sure that you are safe with the being that you are identifying as your guide. I know Lisa has a lot of sensitivities and she has a lot of abilities. I don't know if she's aware of those abilities, but I'm aware of the abilities she has. And so, like, I when you say it's your guide, I feel like it is. I feel like it was. I feel like you really did get to see your mom. Yeah.
It's
We
beautiful.
just we have to be careful about us wanting something so badly that our desire to experience it or to have that is the very thing that's exploited by parasitics. It's super important. You know, you can't allow yourself to get to a place where you want it so bad you will pay any price just to have it. You know, it's definitely not okay. Oh my gosh. Did you hear what Marlene said?
I think this is a great time because I would have my water here. This is probably a great time for me to get some water. What do you guys think? I think I should.
I'm just gonna drag you into this because you're here. No water for you. She's well then. um, so Marlene ever so gingerly leaned over. She goes, "I'm aware that you're married."
She is so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
She's so funny. Mm-mm-mm.
I think they're being antagonistic today. I think that's what it is. I think they're trying to see how long it takes, how much it'll take to piss me off to the degree that I might take down the Wi-Fi.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Does anyone else have any questions that you want to ask? We're just about out of time. We're going to be switching over to the after party. Nobody tell Marlene where the after party is, okay?
I think Marlene's like, Marlene, oh my God, she's so fast up in your business. Marlene probably like looking like, I'm going to send myself an invitation. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't even know. Emmy, I am not usually, unless I have apple bread, which is why I am not eating apple bread on the live again. But I'm not usually this distracted by things, but it is so pervasive. It is, I'm sorry, girl. I love you, but it is what it is. Like, sorry.
Girl, she's trying to compliment me right now. Your youth is returning. I don't care what you say, Marlene.
That's
It's
hilarious. That's what she,
returning.
wow, she's so funny. She is so funny.
Down to her telling me that my lips look very hydrated and smooth right now.
Yo, Marlene is, I don't even know what to say about Marlene. That's
Girl, she's telling me she finds it very flattering when I wear lashes.
wow. Yes,
Lashes,
girl.
yeah, and smoky eyes. She said that my makeup was just chef's kisses last night.
She's laying it on thick.
Hey, hey,
Good.
someone get Marlene. Marlene is someone's mom. Can someone get Marlene's children to get their mom out of here? Please get her out of here.
Gosh. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, too much.
Um,
Let me just breathe. Let me just breathe. Okay, let's see. I think there was a question here. Does prayer help to protect you from parasites? It greatly depends not on the prayer, but on your mindset as you pray. Prayer can be something that can realign a lot of the different uh, components of your energy. It's also something that can cause a dilation for your personal power to, move through your field a lot easier. So it depends. It really depends on the mindset you're in as you do the prayers. If you think the prayers and you still being afraid and not allowing the prayers to calm your fears and soothe you back into a place of personal power is going to work, probably not. Probably not. Yeah. So there's this prayer. It was a novena that my mom used to do. And whenever she does the novena, she gets exactly what she wants. And it's because, as part of the requirements to properly perform the novena, which is a series of prayers done over a series of days, you have to wake up, I think, at like 3 a.m. to do this prayer that lasts about an hour. And it puts you in an absolute like meditative state because you're repeating certain mantras, prayers over and over, and it becomes this pattern, and then you're focused on this and then you're focused on that. And I distinctly remember my soul had told me to go on a spiritual journey, basically like a vision quest. And it took me to multiple states. And then I ended up in Mexico. And I disappeared without telling anyone where we were going. And so my mom had had enough. She couldn't reach me, she couldn't find me. I wasn't at home. And she had had enough. So she had started that novena. And I tell you, I knew immediately. I was like, gonna have to go home soon. She
Oh.
started her prayer because I could feel it. It aligned everything in her field, and it became this thing of like pulling on a rope slowly and methodically, like, this little girl's coming back home. And so I ended up coming back home. Certain prayers, depending on the mindset you're in, absolutely can be powerful. Powerful, ridiculously powerful. And it's not uncommon for my mother's relatives to use that specific novena to get what they're wanting, what they're working hard to try and achieve. They usually get that if it's in alignment with what they need and there's integrity with the request, they usually will get it. Yeah. So prayers can be powerful. They can. I don't want to be someone who tries to tell you like, oh, prayers they're useless. No, every spiritual practice, when done with integrity and focus, can
Mhm.
absolutely be powerful. Absolutely. Every single spiritual practice, from mantras, affirmations, meditation, prayer, all of those different things, it's all about the power of your mind and harnessing that power.
I agree. I have a question real quick, and if we have time.
Hmm.
Um, some people kind of want to know about what's involved with the spiritual communication bridge.
Hmm.
Spiritual bridge communication. Which one is it? Spiritual bridge communication.
Girl, you just triggered my freaking dyslexia. Because now I'm like, I don't know.
you know.
Spiritual communications bridge.
Spiritual communications bridge, yes. And because they've heard other people talking about it, whether it was, on a live or whether we've talked about it on an episode. But in a nutshell, can you kind of say what it is? And if anyone out there has had any experience with it, can you give your experiences too?
So the spiritual communications bridge is basically me turning all my comms all the way up, and I can hear whoever you want to communicate with. I'll request their presence. And if they want to come forward and communicate, they absolutely can. You can have full on conversations with them. I'm not going to allow them to enter my body and speak to you, but I will completely verbatim reiterate what they're saying. And not just that, I'll also communicate on their behalf the emotions that are behind it, some of the thoughts and visuals that they experienced that led to them wanting to communicate what they said. Just it's a very beautiful, very powerful, and just very intense type of session. You have the opportunity to speak with deceased family members, just a whole like intense, in a beautiful way type of experience. It's usually life changing.
Mhm.
It helps to resolve that trauma of their departure. It helps for you to hear the things they couldn't say while they were alive. Um, like oftentimes, what ends up happening, like if it's a parent, the parent will kind of confirm, like, yeah, you know what? Um, I messed up. I didn't intend to hurt you in the way that I did, and I didn't realize it then. It's only after that I realized how it affected you. And I'm so sorry, and I wish I could have said this to you. It's very common for the relatives, deceased relatives, to experience that type of thing. Yeah, Lisa says she loved her spiritual communication bridge session. It was beautiful and very, very intense. You get a lot of people will get the closure they're looking for. A lot of people, they'll be able to release their grip on that wound that exists, and they'll be able to start their healing journey. Yeah, it's it's something that I don't really talk about those sessions very much publicly, because first and foremost, there's a lot of very intimate information that comes through for people. I want to maintain their privacy. I want to absolutely protect that for them. And secondly, it is definitely something that is very taxing on me personally, because I feel all the emotions. I'm not channeling the person, but that doesn't mean that I'm not feeling what they're feeling when they live through what they live through,
Mhm.
because I'm a highly sensitive empath. And so when I do past life readings, spiritual communication bridge, I'm basically reliving whatever they're talking about as they talk about it, as they show it to me. So it's a very taxing thing. Um, and things that are very taxing for me like that, where it just, I feel all this stuff deeply, I have a tendency to keep that very close to my heart and not talk about it as much.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I don't mention it too much. Because I've had people ask me like, "Why don't you talk about that more?" I'm like, "That's it right here. That's right here. That's where it stays. I keep it there. I keep it safe." You know, and that's just kind of how I cope with the very intense emotions that I often will experience during those sessions with the client. It's not uncommon for the client and I to both be sobbing heavily, like, you know, it's taxing. It
Yeah.
is, but it's also very empowering.
Yeah. And do they, the loved ones who have crossed over, do they often have messages for their loved ones? Like things they want to tell them, for their guidance, their lives? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They often have encouragement. They often have a lot of things that need to be said in order to begin repairing connections between family members who are still around,
Mhm.
or they will validate your decision to walk away from family. Just a whole bunch of different things. It depends what's going on in the family.
Mm.
And sometimes even people who, you weren't expecting or wanting to come forward will come forward,
That's deep.
and they'll help to communicate, for because sometimes the family member feels so much shame for the way things ended that they don't want to communicate. They'll just be present, just be like, yeah, I'm here, but I can't communicate. I'm so distraught over my feelings about what happened. And so another family member will come forward and begin communicating on their behalf,
Oh, that's
communicate to me, and then I'll kind of pass it along. So there, I mean, there's so many different ways that it goes and happens for people. It just depends on what exactly our objective is.
indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
USD right here. Sometimes some information is not allowed access to. Yeah. Yep. And no matter how much I want to get that information to the person, sometimes it's not just the higher selves, even the relatives who have passed will be like, no,
Mm-hmm.
not tell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you think that's sometimes because, like, whether it's something that involves something that happened lifetimes ago or in this particular lifetime or what have you, or something that we can't see yet, do you think it's because of wisdom? They know the path, or okay.
Yeah. Beyond wisdom, it also taps into compassion. They
Mm.
don't want to adversely affect your journey
Okay, okay, that
and
makes
your perception of your self-worth oftentimes as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's love. That's love.
Yeah. It's a very beautiful experience. Don't get me wrong. It is very, very beautiful. Some of the most beautiful types of sessions that I offer, I don't talk about it. Just because,
Mhm.
again, I keep those things really close to my chest, because there's something that's just so beautiful when I experience it with clients, that, I don't like to very openly discuss the things that are the most sacred to me. Like, if you guys notice, I don't really talk about my kids. You guys know very little about my children, my husband. Those are things that are very sacred to me. Just like that with my clients, with my sessions, the things that are very sacred to me, I keep it very close to my chest.
Mhm.
This question right here, I was thinking about your pendant online, the St. Benedict medallion. Could you tell us the story behind the prayer? So that prayer is alleged to have been given to Saint Benedict by Archangel Michael as he was preparing to do battle with Satan, Shaitan. Um, and that's a medallion that is usually given to priests as they enter into the seminary, and it's to protect them from the snares of Satan. The medallion is what I have tattooed on myself. I was going through a period of extreme activation of quite a few of my abilities when I was about 18. I think, yeah, 18. And I began with hyper development of my precognitive abilities, because I'm a precog, amongst other things. And so I began to have a series of nightmares, one per week for 4 weeks. And it was showing of things to come, and I couldn't understand what it was. And they were so graphic and so like violent that I began to be afraid to go to sleep. I began to take caffeine pills to stay up. I'd stay up for days at a time because I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to. And a friend at that time, because it was really affecting me so badly, he said that the closer you walk with God, the more the devil tries to attack you to cause you to fail and fall to the wayside. And so he was the one that gave me a medallion. It was a St. Benedict medallion. He said it's his family medallion. And and with that, he says it protects his family. And I was just like, whatever. But I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and I'll keep the medallion. And from that night on, I stopped having nightmares. So whenever the parasitic activity became too intense, I would sleep with that medallion under my pillow, and I would keep it in my pocket with me. And it eventually became this thing of a bond that I felt with that particular medallion. And when I went to the Philippines on a trip in early 2000, my cousin is some celebrity tattoo artist. So he was giving everyone tattoos. And I said I wanted to get the medallion tattooed onto me. And so he did. And it wasn't maybe a couple of weeks after we came back, my aunt had some type of prayer group, like a very special prayer group at her house. And she this person who was leading the prayer group, he's a priest or a retired priest. I don't know. He was in the seminary, and he travels around with a huge statue of Mary that they have recorded talking and crying and just crazy paranormal stuff. And so he went to each of us after the prayer group was done to do a personal blessing for each of us. And he grabbed my wrists and he looks at my tattoos, and immediately like my head went down like, oh God, he's going to criticize me. And he was like, why do you have that on you? Are you planning to enter into the seminary? I was like, no, only men can be priests. And he's like, yes. Are you aware they give that to the priest when they enter seminary so that Satan can't access the priest? And I was like, no, I didn't know. And he was like, what work do you do? And I was like, I'm a makeup artist.
Girl.
And I put it on my wrist because I usually wear 3/4 sleeves. They come up to here. And so as I work, that's what I'm looking at. It's a constant reminder of my decision to devote my life to divinity. Yeah. And everyone that I've given these medallions to, my original medallion I gave to a toddler who was having nightmares like mine. His father was a friend of mine on Facebook, and so I gifted him my original medallion. But that's my connection to the medallion. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. So with the medallions, I mean, you can get them anywhere. You can get them from any religious shop. They're common. They're Saint Benedict medallions. If you get them from my website, I actually program the medallion to do for you what it's done for me. That's the difference. And that's what the difference in price is. It's like carrying me in your pocket, carrying me on top of your heart. That's exactly what I do with the medallions. So yeah, that's that's the story. Yeah, that's this right here disappeared out of nowhere. What could that mean? Something wanted to sever you from your protection. When someone was doing black magic on my sibling in an attempt to harm me, so I had gotten him a mobility scooter. And as part of that, I went ahead and I did a keychain for one of the medallions for his mobility scooter. And because he had an accident, he flipped over, and he's on medications that make that very dangerous to have any injury. And so after I did that, he didn't have any more accidents. But when someone began to try and do black magic on him to harm me, what ended up happening was I went to go move his mobility scooter, and I saw that the medallion had been removed and
Mm.
placed on the floor by it. And I was like, he wouldn't remove that. So yeah, I think that's what that means. Something is trying to sever you from your protection.
Mm.
Yeah. USD, if you can find one at any, any type of religious shop, sometimes when churches have a little gift shop, they'll have it there, super duper 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 cheap. Get one for yourself so you have it ASAP. Let me know and I will program it for you remotely. Is there a link between Archangel Michael and Shiva? Now, I don't know if you will find information online in Vedic texts or Upanishads or any of that about a correlation between Michael and Shiva. If you're asking me for my personal opinion, yes, there is. That's my personal belief that yes, there is. That Shiva is one of the physical forms that Michael was gifted the opportunity to exist within at one point. Yes. So, yeah. Oh my goodness. This right here, Maria says, I'd love to book one of those sessions. I'd love to know my mom's thoughts on what's been going on, but you said it's probably not going to be told. I get it is a beautiful thing. Um, so Maria, really quick, as soon as I read your question, your mom basically said that they're all a-holes and don't listen to them. So I'm sure you know who she's talking about. She said it with a lot of venom. They're all a-holes. Don't listen to them. She's quite upset with the way you've been treated. She's quite upset with that. But I mean, that's not something you're not aware of. You're aware of you're deserving more than what you've been given by people. And I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about, the level of deprivation of dignity that you've been forced to endure. She's not okay with that. She finally sees a lot of the things that the situations that were initiated by the adults in the home that then led to the things that they criticized you for later. So she's not being specific in regards to behaviors or circumstance, but she's definitely taking ownership of she could have done things differently. She could have protected you in a different way. Yeah, definitely. So, guys, we're going to be heading over to the after party. If you'd like to purchase one of the medallions, you can do so right there. And again, anything you purchase from my website, it will be programmed for whoever you are intending to receive it. I will program it myself. And my programs for tangible goods, they're encrypted and they cannot be energetically hacked by something else. They're encrypted. Okay. If something were to be able to successfully hack it, you would end up losing the item. Michael says it's important for you guys to know how it works. You would end up losing the item, or the item would break and you would get rid of it. You would be given an indication because it would no longer be allowed in your life. So whatever protection that was infused in the physical item, if the item is breached and it's going to be removed from your life, that protective code is then infused into your outer auric shield so that it can continue to protect you. Okay. So, oh, that's beautiful. Hi, Desiree. She says, thank you. I've been so curious for a long time. I'm Hindu, but I always experience things you speak about with regards to Archangel Michael and Christ consciousness. Yes. So I'm not sure if you can find any reliable texts that were written by respectable authors, but if you do a search, I'm sure you'll be able to find speculation that Jesus did live with the Hindus for quite some time after his escape from that circumstance. He lived in Kashmir. He was hidden away in the mountains, and he lived with the holy peoples for quite some time. Quite some time. And then he traveled quite a distance and found other holy communities and shared more information. Again, I don't know if you'll find information online about that. That's more from me accessing memories and stuff like that. Um, yeah. So if you guys want to join us, simply go to this website. Thank you, Lindsay. Simply go to this website and join us, thesoulsanctuary.love. Your contribution goes towards the Soulwork Synergistics ministry and nonprofit. It helps to fund our programs and all our efforts to support our community online as well as in person. We'll be going live in a few minutes there for our after party chat. That's where you can either just stay in the comments and interact with us through the comments, or you can join me via video chat and be on screen with me and have full-on conversations. It's a very amazing experience. And if you want to join us, there's the link right there, thesoulsanctuary.love. You can sign up there. And again, it's not a membership, it is a recurring contribution. And that contribution goes towards our nonprofit. Okay. So we will see you guys again very, very soon. Ocean, is there anything else that you want to share?
Yes, I just want to say thank you very much for having me, Emmy. Thank you very much for having me, fam. It's always a pleasure. I also want to tell you all that right now, Emmy's private sessions are 50% off. That includes the things that we've been talking about today. I just wanted to make sure before before I announce it to anyone. So I'm looking like, is this still? So guys, if you would like to book a private session, it's a great time. They're 50% off.
Yes. Yes. I always have promotions going on the website. I'm just horrible at announcing it. I'm horrible at announcing it, but yes, I do.
Well, I'm here.
I know. I need to get through that. I need to work through that because people need to know when they have opportunities to
Yeah.
get certain types of session for a much better deal. Yeah. I'll eventually work through
You
it.
can always keep checking too, because like she said, she always has something going on. So make sure
Yeah.
you keep checking. And we will
Yeah.
have this newsletter to update people who would like to know when you have specials coming up, right? Wonderful. So if
Yes.
you're not signed up, guys, go ahead, hop on over to meevolving.com, sign up for that newsletter as well as the Soulworks Synergistics newsletter for updates, promotions, and all of that great stuff we have going on too.
Yes, definitely. All right. I'll see you guys over at the soulsanctuary.love. I hope everyone has an amazing rest of your day. Bye, everyone.